Are you tired of feeling limited? It's time to break free, and I'm going to give you three questions rather, to ask to break all limitations in your life and set you on track to the life of your dreams. Let's get into it. I'm Jim, y'all, and I have found peace, purpose, and prosperity in my life. You can have that too, and I can help. How do you start the life of your dreams? That is the question, and I'm going to tell you three questions in the next few minutes that if you will ask these of yourself, you're going to discover the answer to where your dream life lies. And it doesn't matter if it's starting up a dream business, if it is finding that SP, that dream special person, if it's losing weight, if it's financial abundance, if it's getting out of debt. There are limitations we place on ourselves. 95% of them are absolute lies. They're not true. And you can get at the source of them and break free from them in your life when you learn to ask these three simple questions. Question number one is what? What is it I am feeling? What is the feeling that when you began to think about that dream life, when you began to say, this is the life I want to live, this is my destiny, I set my intention on it. I've got videos on here all about how to set your intention, and you can check those out on my channel below if you'd like to do that. But when we set our intention, we set our mind on what it is we want, and then our actions ultimately begin to go in that direction and follow, and we accomplish the life of our dreams. But the barrier that often holds us back from that is our own self-imposed limiting beliefs or limitations that we put upon ourselves, sometimes unknowingly, because they're buried deep in our subconscious. We need to start asking ourselves, when we have that first limiting feeling, when we take that first step towards our dreams, even that first thought towards the life we could be living, we will feel limitations. We will feel limiting beliefs, and you need to stop and ask yourself deeply, what am I feeling now? I will give you an example of it that will follow through this whole video in my own life. As I began to start this online coaching business, I've worked with people for over 30 years. I've coached hundreds of people in the church world when I used to do all of that stuff. I've worked in sales. It's easy for me to communicate and talk to people and help folks out in their lives. But when I began to move forward to my real dream of doing what I'm doing here with you, one of the first feelings I would feel was smallness. I would feel small. That is what it was. For me, it was like, Jim, you could, but ... And my ... was, you're not quite good enough. You don't have the secret sauce. God has a great destiny for other people, but God doesn't have this destiny for you. That's what I would feel. What do you feel? It's important to ask yourself the question, when you have a negative feeling of limitation, when you begin to move towards that life you really want to live, what is that feeling that rises up in you? Pinpoint it, figure it out, and really spend some time asking yourself, what is it I really feel that is my ... What is the big but I'm putting in my life that stands between me and my dreams? What is that feeling? Put a name on it. For me, it was smallness. I felt small. I felt deep down like I would, but I can't. I would like to, but I'm lacking something. I'm not quite smart enough. I'm not quite talented enough. I'm not quite fortunate enough. That was the feelings I had attached anytime I would try to move in a forward direction to do just what I'm doing here with you. As I learned to let go of that, it began to change my life in dramatic ways. It's led to having the best job I've ever had in my life. It's led to starting this coaching business that I've started here on YouTube and beyond. My life has started to unfold, my dreams in front of me, when I figured out the secret to letting go of these limiting beliefs that I had. What is your what today? Ask yourself that question. What is this feeling I get of being held back when I start to think or move towards the direction of my dream life? The second question you need to ask yourself is where? Now, this is one I didn't understand for a long time. So I started reading some books by people like Dr. David Hawkins and Dr. Joe Dispenza helped me a lot with this concept. Wayne Dyer helped me a lot with this. To understand where we feel things in our body is very important. What am I feeling and where am I feeling it? As you begin to feel that limitation, for the smallness, for example, with me, where am I feeling that physically in my body? I invite you just to close your eyes for a few seconds when you do this practice, when you're alone later. Close your eyes when you start to feel that limitation, that limiting belief. and ask yourself, where am I feeling this? I know for me, I felt a lot of it in my heart. I would get tense in my heart because I would start to think I'm too small to do this. I'm trying really hard, but I'm never going to be able to make it happen because dot, dot, dot. I'm not fortunate enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. All that would rise up and I would feel it in my heart. There was a tension there. I'll tag a video below where I can walk you through a process of how to let that go once and for all, whatever that feeling is. There's a practical exercise you can do to sit with it, let it rise up and just let it move out of you. And then you're rid of that and you can move on to better and better things and do that anywhere in your life. But to do that, you need to pinpoint where you're feeling it. Where's your tension? It might be in your head. It might be in your heart. It might be in your throat. It might be all over your body. Wherever it is for you, pinpoint the tension because it's energy that's trapped in your body and it's trying to be released. Where is it at in you? What is it you feel in limitations? Where is it at in your body? And I think probably the most important question that really helped me dig down and change my life, I believe will change it for you. The third question is why? Why do I believe this? See, your limiting beliefs, like I said, are 95%, I would say as high as 99% not true. Most of the limits we put on ourselves are either self-imposed or they were programmed into us as children. They were programmed into us through media, through teachers, parents, whatever it is for you over your lifetime to tell you reasons why you can't do whatever it is you want to do. Nothing is off the table when you begin to believe you are an energetic being of consciousness, connected to the consciousness of source of God and connected to that consciousness that permeates all of us. Nothing's impossible when you start to see life through that lens. And when you begin to believe that, really believe that, you're going to start changing your life. But once you start believing that, these limiting beliefs are going to pop up and you got to ask the what, you got to ask the where, but most importantly, you got to ask the why. And that's where some digging has to be done. I just read a story about some guys in Tibet that were in this, I think it was a Buddhist temple, and there was a giant golden statue of Buddha, and they were digging down under the statue, and they were literally digging down to build a drainage system. They're digging a drain ditch, and because they dug down under the statue, they found this super valuable treasure. I don't even remember the dollar amount, but all this gold and silver and these things that were buried beneath the statue, but they couldn't get to the treasure until they dug down below the Buddha. That's spiritual digging, my friend, to dig down inside your spirit, inside your spirituality, inside your soul, and ask yourself, why do I feel limited? For me, like I said, I was feeling small was one of my biggest limitations. And I started asking myself, why do I feel small? And for me, it was a lot of the way I was brought up religiously in a very narrow-minded, narrow-focused sect of Christianity. I grew up in that. I was a pastor in that for many years, and it gave me a very narrow view of the world, of God, of how things worked in life, how God worked, how Source was and responded and behaved, and how people were. And it made me feel like I'm missing something. And I'd have to do a whole nother video to go into why I felt that, but it made me feel small, and I was able to dig down and get to my why. And it's because of the way I had believed all of my life, and it was absolutely not true. None of it was true for me. None of it was true about me. And I just had to do this little practice in the video below and let it all go. And when I did, boom, 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 all these doors, all these things started opening up in this channel of flow of pure energy, of possibility, of anything I set my mind to began to be possible. And the same thing can happen for you. But you've got to figure out why you're feeling your what. Because once you figure that out, you can see where you're feeling it and you can let it go and you can move on to your dream life. Are you ready to move? Tell me in the comments, SpongeBob-like voice in your head, I'm ready. If you're ready to move on with your dream life, to let the limiting beliefs go, to let the limitations go once and for all. Today, ask yourself what, ask yourself where, and ask yourself why, and let's change your life together.